All right. How we doing? Holy crap. Welcome to Tradecraft Tuesday. Hey, if you're here, you're in the right place. You knew it already just because you're here. Look, let me get the slides going and let me tell you just a little bit about what we're doing today. Welcome to Tradecraft Tuesday. Hey, we've got a spiffy new slide deck. I'm not sure if you can see it coming up here, fingers crossed, but hey, if you haven't seen Tradecraft Tuesday before, Tradecraft Tuesday is your source for all things hacker tradecraft. Something that we're really excited to do, something that we really hope and love to do, that we're having fun with. We want to bring you all that actionable expertise to get you some education and really help you stay ahead of evolving threats. But look, today we're going to be chatting about the dark web, some cybercrime, some shenanigans. So the title for today's fun show is Journey to the Center of the Dark Web. How are things doing? Dave, are you here with me? Can you hear me all
I
right?
hope so. Can you guys hear me? I hope you
I
can hear
got you,
me.
Dave. I
We
got
were
you.
having some massive technical difficulties at the 0 hour here of me joining, and I apologize for that greatly. But super stoked to see everyone here, and I'm digging the new slide deck, man. I really like it.
I think you joined in the nick of time. You might have been like the absolute latest frame before we went live. So
Oh,
I'm super
nice.
glad that you made it, man. And thank you for
Yeah,
being here, Dave, especially. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Please do. I don't know if you really even need to set your Zoom chat to everyone anymore. I don't know if they've gotten ahead of that. But look, if you're willing, drop in the chat. We'd love to hear where you're tuning in from, what you're up to these days, and what you're looking forward to seeing. But Dave, how you feeling? You ready for this thing? Should we just dive
I'm
in? I know
good.
we got a
I'm
lot to
ready.
cover.
I haven't been on Tradecraft Tuesday in a while, so I'm looking forward to hanging out here with you guys for an hour.
Yeah, we were chatting about it. We were thinking, hey, you and I, Dave, we haven't gotten a chance to chat and catch up in quite a bit. So it
It's
was
been a
good for us
minute.
to get
It's
it.
been a minute.
So, hey, we are the Dog and Pony Show today, truth be told. We'll be up here doing the song and dance. If you aren't familiar, my name is John Hammond. I'm a principal security researcher here at Huntress. Spend a lot of time with the adversary tactics team, chasing rapid responses, vulnerabilities, and exploits that are falling out of the sky. But I will admit, I don't get to do it as often or as much as I'd like to these days, but I do have a little bit of fun spelunking in those cybercrime forums. Some of the shenanigans, cybercrime caves, seeing what threat actors are chatting about, what they are buzzing about. And with that, Dave, I'm sorry, I'll let you take the floor. Who are
Yeah.
you? What are you up to? What are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm a principal product researcher here at Huntress. I spend most of my days now on the identity products. So the ITDR stuff, going after those Microsoft 365 based threats and those sorts of things. I admittedly also don't get to spend as much time digging in the dark web dumpsters, as we say. We've previously done some stuff and some other events where we've done this, and I'm looking forward to getting right back into this particular dumpster and digging through, seeing what we find today.
So we will both be doing our darndest to keep an eye on chat, but please forgive me. Hey, if you got anything dire, urgent, hey, something that you want to kind of raise our attention to, anything that maybe drop it in the Q&A if we've got that going. And with that, we'll be going back and forth, keeping eyes on chat, but we will be driving the slides. So let me keep cruising. All right, the obligatory agenda, the roadmap, the outline, what we're chatting about today. As usual, as is tradition, we'll do an into news section. Hopefully, that won't take too long because we have a lot to cover. Going to be talking a little bit about how the cybercrime and underground dark web sort of ecosystem is made up with bulletproof hosting providers, some of the forums and marketplaces you see out and about there, and of course, ransomware, info stealers, all of the malware and malicious stuff that's out and about from those threat actors. We'll try to give you a few resources and references, and then if we've got some time, we'll open it up for Q&A. But Dave, is that all right? Can I help kick it over to you for some of our news segment? I know there's a hot conversation probably on the top of everyone's radar here, Sonic
Yeah.
Wall.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been, we've been tracking a good bit of this Sonic Wall VPN exploitation stuff that was going on. We've seen not quite 30 incidents or so. I think it was like 28, something like that, that resulted in a Kira ransomware deployment. So, right on that topic of ransomware today and stuff. We've got a whole blog written up on it, so I don't want to spend like, an hour reading the blog here to everybody, but just a ton of stuff about the vulnerability, kind of utilizes some overprivileged LDAP or service accounts that is used to link the SSL VPN to your local Active Directory. And then, yeah, there we go. All the terribleness happens from there, right? We just dig into, privilege escalation, enumeration, and then eventually ransomware on that. So if you are using Sonic Walls, go ahead and head over, check that blog out, make sure you've got everything, up to snuff and configured in a way that it should be. We have all the details lined out there. So just a solid resource for those that are using that kind of hardware.
Would folks be willing in the chat, I don't know, maybe raise your hand, digitally raise your hand. Hey, have you been tracking some of this Sonic Wall shenanigans? And I'll be the first to admit it's a little like I don't want to say confusing. It's hard to track because I know there was some thought, the concern, is this a 0 day? I think there was some little bit more now presence that, oh, it's an
Right.
old previous vulnerability, but we're still seeing intrusions. So, yeah, okay. I'm glad that is a shared sentiment in the chat. Thank you for your digital hands up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there was definitely someone had asked in chat too about are they still attributing it to an older vuln or whatnot. I believe that's still some of the data that's come out of it. I know we've had some updates to the blog. I'm admittedly not up to date as of the one that we, the most recent post I think on it, but definitely follow that. I do believe there was also some chat that had something to do with migration from Gen 6 to Gen 7 appliances. Some of the accounts, that were still around from those. So if you have any situations like that, pay extra attention to it.
Cool. What do you think of the DPRK
I
in the wild
I
fraudware?
added this one into the news. I found the article interesting. I've always been a fan of the side hustle, me. And hey, if this YouTube thing doesn't work out, apparently you can rent, some space in your apartment or your home with some laptops. Maybe let them use your internet, and you can, you can let the DPRK or the North Koreans get an exit node effectively from a residential or commercial ISP here in the U.S. So kind of a wild thing. This Christina Marie Chapman here was sentenced to a 102-month prison term. Had to forfeit almost 300 grand that was to be paid, and then has to pay a judgment of 175 grand. Pretty wild. Apparently, it was about a $17 million overall campaign. And this was just one part. Yeah, Oscar in chat. How much does it pay? Asking for a friend. Well, apparently at $17 million, you end up with a 102-month prison term. So you'll have to decide if that's work for you. But I don't think it's going to be the best side hustle. I'm always looking for a good one, but this one seems a little bad. Plus, you're kind of not cool here, right? You're exploiting. It says it exploited more than 300 American companies. Dozens of identities were stolen, and then obviously helping out the regime there, or the DPRK, is probably not high on my list of good guy things to do. So yeah, this was a pretty wild one. This is just one instance of it, one person. I know we've seen a lot more of this IT worker fraud and stuff out in the wild. So definitely something to keep track of. This came right over from justice.gov, pretty recent article from late last month. So definitely some good reading. So
No,
there
I
you
know
go.
it. I don't mean to let the cat out of the bag by any means, or spill any secrets or spill any beans, but we over in the adversary tactics team have been chasing and tracking some of the DPRK IT workers. So there are some really cool stories to tell on that front. I think we're still trying to get the blog together, but it is something that I think we've got some sweet hot goss to share with you when the time comes. But it is wild to see this all in action and all the
Yeah.
shenanigans
The
that are coming
chat,
from.
there's some interesting in the chat, right? Someone here gets Ruben gets weekly applications from DPRK actors. Somebody says they'll do it for $1 million, so maybe they could save a few bucks there for the DPRK. So yeah, kind of some interesting discussion there, but definitely stay tuned for the upcoming stuff we've got on this from the adversary tactics team.
Cool. What do you think? BlackSuit ransomware disruption. Have you seen the news on this one?
Yeah, honestly, I really just kind of read it as we got into this for this event here today of them getting kind of taken down. I saw there was a statement from HSI Cybercrimes and stuff. The Justice Department had a coordinated attack against them. So I mean, I always like to see a ransomware group getting taken down, but usually it's this one said what 450 US victims before they took it down last month.
Yeah, it's another case of ransomware gangs, right?
Yep.
Ransomware gangs doing what they do, but it is just good to see some of that law enforcement action, some of the, hey, that takedown, some of that seizure opportunity, some of the
Yeah.
disruption. And I know we might, I don't know, be a little bit doom and gloom, glass half empty, where we say, oh, hey, they're just going to rebrand, or another one will take their place, or one thing or another. Sure, yeah, but hey, can we celebrate? Can we take the win when we are doing good work and we can kind of see the whole community and the industry charging onwards, driving forwards? And there's a whole lot more to pull the thread on for that. There's another sort of, I think, cool breaking news segment, but it's not the best placed here. I know we'll chat about it as we get into more of the main show. Um, what do you think in chat? Is there anything else? Anything that we should have covered for our in the news segment, or anything else
Any
the
news
top
we
of your
missed?
mind? Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, Jan win for the good guys. Yeah, I'll take that. Operation checkmate. Let's see.
SharePoint Vaughn.
SharePoint
Yeah,
vulnerabilities, Dell laptop firmware vulnerabilities.
I gotta be honest. I'm just coming back from Black Hat and DEF CON. I got back from Vegas late last night, basically the morning of yesterday. But look, obviously, of course, tons of research that came out from the incredible folks, individuals there. I'm sure we will see that being spread and hey, hitting up the industry and the community as it does. But I hope
And
if any of you were at Hacker Summer Camp with me, I hope we had a good time.
I see Richard drop probably some of the most important news. AOL, America Online, is shutting down their dial-up service. So the end of an era. I am of an age where I used AOL dial-up a lot. So, I'm kind of wild that people were still out there doing that. But yeah, I did see that go around.
All
See a
right.
lot of
Is my
love for DEF
microphone
CON in
low?
the chat.
Sorry. I'll try and turn things up. Let me know if I'm better or worse in the chat. Thank you, Joe. Okay, should we dive into it? I think we burned about 15 minutes going over the news. Let's get to the
Yeah.
real stuff, right?
Yeah, we're
So, the
talking
dark
about
web.
Tor, the dark web, right? I learned some stuff today about that. I sent it to you. I had no idea that the core principle of this was actually developed by the US Naval Research Laboratory in like the 90s.
Yeah. And I'd love to let you kind of fill in the gaps there, but if I could just kind of maybe set the backdrop,
Yeah.
the dark web is still just the internet. I know that's got whatever mystique and allure and whoa, maybe ominous, the dark web kind of buzzword to a certain extent there. But it is you still reaching out to a server out across the internet and the airwaves there from your client, from your own computer, but it's just bouncing between different nodes or these Tor exit nodes. And the reason they call this Tor is it's because they have that sweet name of the onion router. When you send some of your network traffic, packets that you're sending from one server to the next, you've layered it and it's encapsulating only from one to one where this next segment should go. So the end actual server or your real destination never particularly knew where you came from all the way amongst the series of hops that you went through. It only knows the most recent connecting node. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that right, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's the whole point is any given node doesn't know where the actual origination and destination are, just the previous or next hop.
What were some of those sweet insights you had? Was there more to
Yeah,
dig into there?
it was pretty wild. I didn't realize it did go all the way back to the 90s, right? That was the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. It was originally for protecting U.S. intel communications. And then in 2004, they dropped the code as with a free license for it. And then the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation over there, began funding the continued development of it. So that's kind of what sort of kicked off, I guess, its rise to popularity out there in the public. And then in 2006, the Tor project was founded, and it's apparently a legit 501c3 out of Massachusetts that is responsible for kind of maintaining and running that. So never really, I've played around with it and used it, but never really dug into some of that history and origins. And I just thought that was pretty cool.
And if I may sprinkle in just a little bit more context, obviously, hey, this whole thing was built, developed, and created with the best intentions. Like, hey, this is meant to be a good means for privacy, for anonymity, for you to be able to act and be kind of free out on the internet without a concern of, oh, your fingerprints, the traces that you might leave behind. So for the folks that are really into operational security, OPSEC, Tor is kind of a pretty cool thing. But it's no secret, yeah, those threat actors, cyber criminals, and bad actors are really going to use and abuse it to get amongst their cybercrime hijinks, right? Is that fair to say?
I think nail on the head there, right? So how many things in our industry did start out with the best intentions and were abused for one reason or another?
Well, some folks might know the way this all happens across Tor and the Onion router is that domains or the websites that you try to visit when you type it into your address bar, the URL at the top of your web browser, it's not google.com or facebook.com. Like, that's a human readable string or a name of a location. But when it comes to websites that are on the dark web, and again, put that in air quotes because it's still the internet, they're going to have this crazy long, nonsensical, almost gibberish like looking string for that domain. It's with a .onion URL rather than a .com or .org TLD or top level domain, but it could be complete nonsense. XMH57219A, whatever, forever and ever in a long, long string. Now, this is, I think, an improvement from what was V2. I think they flipped the switch for V3 way back in 2021. So not new by any means, but also not all that old, I guess, speaking broad strokes there. Are folks familiar with that in chat? V3 onion addresses, knew the distinction between V2 and what all those really were on Tor Onion Web? There was one note where folks would kind of talk about the dark web and the deep web. Now, I have seen in connotations, and I know this gets super subjective in how you define a lot of terms. Oh, red teaming, pen testing, SQL, SQL, whatever. You call it what you want. But deep web, from what I have understood, are the websites that are available on the clear net. You can still use any regular web browser to reach and access them, but they'll have a little bit more of a strange or different top level domain like .hn or .so or whatever. Not a .onion address that needs and requires the Tor protocol or the Onion router to be able to access those exactly. Deep web, dark web. Have you heard that distinction, Dave?
I've definitely heard the two terms like differently, but I have not really explored as to like what they really meant that was different. So
Yeah.
I'm learning today too with everybody else.
Cool. Well, I don't know if
Learn
that
something new
helps.
every day. Someone suggested .jham, which I can get behind.
The market price on that, I don't know. We'll drive that to the moon. All right, a couple more eye candy screenshots for you. I tweaked and tuned that past onion address in the previous slide, but it was based off of one of the resources out there on the dark web called Torch. And this is one of those search engines because on the dark web, you can't just as easily have Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever search engine du jour, right? Now, obviously, these have a lot of advertisements on them. And they index different sites. They crawl or try to maintain a catalog and archive of different onion links or places on the dark web. But because everyone's trying to make some money, cybercrime industry or not, they're putting out advertisements. And a lot of these are not safe for work. You might see a couple pixelated, blurry segments of the image there.
Yeah.
A lot of those are a little explicit, a little illicit. So you might have to have a certain fortitude, or you kind of have to be able to stomach it if you wanted to journey out and go see the weird oddities over on the dark web. And take it all with a grain of salt. It may not be real. You may not be valid. It may not. And it's really hard for one of us to verify or any of it. So I got to admit, it's wild and crazy to see. I do like to share a lot of the insight because it's still out there. I always want to show, not just tell. And whether it's real or not, it's there. It's out there.
It's still fun. These are giving me really like early 2000s like advertising vibes.
Yeah, is this
Like
along the
animated
AOL
and
news,
flashing.
right?
Yeah, like
Marquee.
some marquees, some marquee scrolling, some flashing text. I'm really getting that vibe there.
Now, I want to talk about some that I don't think it gets a lot of attention when we do get to do some of these sweet safari ride, cybercrime, dark web dumpster diving stuff. I don't think I've got a chance to touch on this before with you all, is when we discuss bulletproof hosting providers. Because I mentioned you have to have a server, right? Host a website out on the internet, dark web or ClearNet. Bulletproof hosting providers are those resources, those servers or cloud hosting providers, like you might think of, oh, DigitalOcean or Linode. Maybe you spin something up with AWS, GCP, whatever. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of those, but what are bulletproof hosting providers, Dave? Could you help me fill in the gaps?
Yeah, so it's hosting providers that will gladly take, crypto, and then maybe not really worry too much about, like, their terms of service are probably pretty light. Let's just put it that way. Maybe they don't respond timely to DMCA takedowns or other similar type of activities. I
Totally.
see you got some examples here.
Yeah, I try to make a list and at least some that I know of, and maybe a
Yeah.
couple screenshots if folks weren't too familiar. But you're absolutely right. These will turn a blind eye to what happens on that server or what that website might be used for. So takedown requests, DMCA shenanigans, those just kind of fall to the wayside. And for you as a purchaser or customer to gain access to buy this server and use it, there's no KYC or know your customer, right? They'll take that anonymous payment with cryptocurrency and it's out of sight, out of mind.
I mean, this one takes Visa and MasterCard according to their logo there. So they're not even just crypto.
Interesting balancing act with KYC, you know your customer, of course. I know there are a lot of conversations going on in the state of privacy between recent conversations in Australia, UK, etc. That is a hot topic and a can of worms that I won't open right here and now. But bulletproof hosting provider, I hope you get the gist. That's really, yeah, that opportunity to slide under the radar for whatever shenanigans you might be up to. So, another again, taking Bitcoin, taking cryptocurrency, Ethereum, or whatever. There are a lot of these, truth be told. So I wanted to give you some of those visuals to let you see what those things look like. Um, but Dave, I know we're moving quick. Any
Yeah.
forums or marketplaces that stand out in your mind?
Yeah, so XSS.is has been around a long time. I know we've done some previous shows on, highlighting some content from there years ago. Um, and exploit.in I've heard of, and BreachForums is another pretty popular one, but we have a little bit of news I think later on. But yeah, some of these other ones they're kind of new to me.
No, I know it. And thank you for helping kind of set the stage. Obviously, a lot of these are known to be cybercrime forums where threat actors and bad actors just kind of hang out, where they chat, where they communicate, where they'll post either job listings for maybe ransomware as a service opportunities. Maybe they'll be selling their malware, their new tooling, their payload framework, or whatever the case may be, or just a bunch of data breach information. Hey, what have we uncovered from a recent hacker intrusion or compromise? What's the market? Hey, what can we sell this for to make a buck? And I'll be the first to admit a couple of these have seen their time in the spotlight taken down or seized by law enforcement. And again, that's kind of a wild ride to see again things either move or shift or be replaced or rebranded in another direction. We'll have a lot of those conversations when it comes to breach forums, even some very soon with XSS.is. Some of these that may just be gone to the wayside and dead now, but had a big name in the moment. And with that, a good many of these are pay to play. You genuinely need to either provide cryptocurrency or offer Bitcoin or Monero, whatever the case may be, so that you're even gained or allowed entry into the forum. So you can register, have an account, interact, or see pages there in that forum. Um, XSS.is, one that we've shown a lot in past
Yeah.
education, past webinars and shows kind of similar to this, had gotten itself in a little bit of hot water some time ago. There I think one of the ClearNet domains, xss.is, or I suppose a deep web domain, if we're trying to make that distinction, had seen the takedown banner. And you can see this domain has been seized by, oh, I'm not going to try the French. Is that French?
Yeah, I believe so. And
Okay.
I'm not good at it, so
SBU Cyber Department
there
assisted
we
and
go.
helped out, but without a doubt, that caused quite a stir. But folks might know, if folks were chatting and tracking things here, that it wasn't exactly taken down or gone. There are other domains, and now I think they've churned to another domain and even spawned and created a new onion address for their dark web location, where you'll actually be able to see if you go to it, it's not going to show you the seizure banner. It's not going to have a takedown site. They've already moved and migrated, but they'll use some really neat DDoS protection capabilities or a certain kind of turnstile or captcha technique just to let folks into the forum. But XSS.is is still up and running. And granted, this
Alive
is a
and well.
Russian speaking forum. Yeah. If we get to show some of this, and I'll try to bring us through a couple of videos, maybe have some cool screen share. It is usually funneled through Google Translate, and that may or may not work well at all. But I do want to show you some of access.is. So a little bit of a video here, just kind of scrolling through a lot of the access forums where there are different bulletin boards or threads or postings where individuals will say, hey, I'm looking for access. I'm trying to buy a panel. Do you have any RDP credentials to any environment? Here's the dollar amount. Hey, hit me up on Telegram. Telegram is the real social media of threat actors and cyber criminals. And they'll say, look, well, let's do escrow. Let's communicate. Let's make this deal. And there are really wild conversations where they have a certain kind of people's court or sort of judicial system in these communities where if any bad actor, because again, this is a world where OPSEC and anonymity reigns king, well, if you are ever wronged by someone not paying the bill that they should have or not giving you a commission in some ransomware as a service, affiliate work, etc., you really bring it to the moderators and administrators of these forums, and they go through this whole wild, like, code of conduct or sort of cybercrime sportsmanship process, or they will ban that individual or, hey, really tarnish the reputation on other sites. And they're not allowed on other forums if they were a bad apple amongst an already bad collection of threat actors.
Yeah, there's even been some comments already, like Wyatt says, "How could you trust anyone on that?" Feels like scam central. Uh, it's the video you showed. There was a comment at the bottom, like, "Hey, make sure you don't get scammed on the scam site. Use a guarantor." Right. So there's those escrow services. It's kind of funny to see that in this kind of world, but I mean, I understand why it has to exist.
No honor amongst thieves.
Yeah.
All right, another that is out and about, exploit.in. Again, both with a deep web link, if we consider it, that's accessible on the ClearNet exploit.in or a onion site. If we were to explore this forum, again, you can kind of see the different sort of categories of, oh, discussing malware, discussing war driving, bluejacking, social engineering, trying to figure out how you could spam or, I don't know, get some mail, carding efforts, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot here, but I will admit, once you've seen one cybercrime forum, dark web stuff, you've basically seen them all. Is that fair to
Right.
say, Dave?
Yeah, you're probably it's probably right on the yeah, and it's they're all discussing the same thing. It's just what kind of community have they amassed in their particular circle.
But that's a super good word and something super cool to hone in on. The community where reputation is really the most important thing. And we'll see some of that chatter when we get to breach forums. But I do want to keep giving you some eye candy for exploit.in and some of the others. We'll go on a little safari ride in a second, but take a look at their buying and selling section of the forum and their thread. Again, malware, exploits, bundles, crypts, access over FTP, databases that have been dumped, social network, maybe getting access and accounts, mobile communication here and there, carding, banks, et cetera, et cetera. Anything stick out to you? Or-
It's funny to see that, like you said, you've seen one, you've seen them all. There's like that hierarchy, right? You've got your initial access brokers, you've got your people selling exploits, you've got your people selling campaigns. Like they'll like, hey, do you have the access? We'll run the campaign. And seeing it all broken down into like, a shopping list of categories is it's definitely a little surreal.
Big
Yeah,
shout out to Luke. I see Luke Connolly in chat though. He was dropping, hey, yeah, honestly, these forums have sock puppets galore. Like, oh, accounts that were created just to be able to lurk and listen in. And it's no secret, there's always the opportunity for one of those accounts or registered users to kind of be a double agent. Hey, maybe someone that's a researcher, maybe someone that's trying to understand a little bit more of the cybercrime ecosystem, or a member of law enforcement, just because they want to get a little bit of this intel, see what folks are chatting about. We'll talk about that more soon, but again, I did want to give you more and more of these visuals because a big one that sticks out to me when you scroll down to the very, very bottom of forums like these, they'll let you know who's online, who's active, and the statistics of the forum. I don't know if you can see the total members there. Big
yeah,
number, almost 68,000.
200, yeah, and then 208 online at the moment.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen a forum that's had 208 active members. I think forums have kind of gone by the wayside, but this seems to be pretty popular.
101,000 attendees that were present online at one point, 235,000 total topics, over a million, almost a million and a half total posts on this just exploit.in. And this is only one of those big well known names. So wild. Let me bring us through a little bit of exploit.in. You can see those ads in action. Um, we might be able to scroll down, try to see what would they be willing to share, what would we be able to explore. We'll get to kind of a case study here because the leak data that they might share or stuff that could come from InfoStealer malware logs. And I do want to help tee you up, Dave, for especially a lot of that identity access there. Um,
Mhm.
InfoStealer malware logs are basically what enable like session hijacking attacks or all the potential business email compromise, etc. Things in your identity world. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking. I was talking about that hierarchy earlier of the different roles that people play, and someone who's an initial access broker might just be scraping for identity credentials. Now, whether that's just raw credentials or whether it's stolen session tokens that people can use, things like that, and they just they sell those in these data dumps, and it's kind of it broadens that perimeter, right? Like in the side of like, oh, we have to go after a firewall and a network or one server, one building. When you move the perimeter to the identity, it's everywhere. And you have these giant dumps that people sell with who knows what in them.
So you might have caught it, you might not have, but there was one thread way back when that had a giveaway, apparently. Uh, Costco
Okay.
free sample, if that's what you're thinking. Hey, a big dump of potential USA credit card numbers and information and birth date there. And they say, hey, if you're interested, quick giveaway. You can go see this over on my Telegram channel with social security numbers, USA individual information. And again, please let me add that grain of salt. I don't know if this is true, real, valid. There's no way to really for me to particularly verify and validate. But if we were to crack open Telegram, and this is really where all of the shadiness happens, if I may say, uh, hey, let's do it. Let's let curiosity kill the cat here, and let's download this 7,000 records of potential USA
You're you're
individual.
almost 2 megabytes of CSV there of what I presume is a hey, here's what I can give you for free. Think of what I could provide you if you paid me money.
Totally.
I'm guessing that's what this is. It's like a marketing thing.
Now, I know this is pixelated and redacted and obscured to the moon, but I'm scrolling through a lot of this dump just so you can see that it's real. And here it is. I don't know if I had a quick frame in that video. Sorry, I'll try and go back for us. But just as you were alluding to, Dave, there's about
Yeah,
130,000 of
there you go.
these. If you're interested in buying them, let me know. Hit me up on Telegram. What do you think, chat?
Yeah. Harry says, "Can you look me up?" People making sure they're not on the list.
Can I pull on that thread for a sec? Because
Yeah.
I know it's, again, there are a handful of individuals that will download this data, or anything that could very well be leaked in a ransomware leak, or, hey, some threat actors that publish data. And they may use it for archive purposes, right? And they may kind of use it just for data hoarding, or they may use it for red teaming or penetration testing, or like offensive security, to acknowledge and prove your team members or employees or individuals at your company have had their information compromised and it's public out and about on the dark web. We'll see that very soon again in action, but I don't think it's any secret. There are offensive security firms that will really, really take advantage of data like this because they want to act like and emulate cyber criminals. Knowing that this is what they use, this is information that's available to them. Well, we need to be aware of that for sure too.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool in the arsenal when you're doing offensive security, right? If you have to think and play like the threat actor, you're going to have the best results in your testing and whatnot. Although I do see a lot of references to for research or educational purposes only in the chat, so that we know what that means. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely a tool in the arsenal for folks who are in that business.
Here's another screenshot coming from BreachForums some time ago. Bear in mind, this post is from 2022, so old stuff. But just to kind of keep this cruising, I did see a laugh and a joke in the chat, like, "Oh yes, the default dark web cybercrime forum profile picture." I don't know what this anime character might be, but that is usually the default profile picture in some of these forums. Now they're offering 9 million USA data brute, with full information, or SSN, social security numbers, account numbers, and they just provide the sample with anon files. Again, they link their Telegram. But if we went there, try to take a look at the free sample, I mean, there it is.
Still kicking.
Not much more to say, really. Um,
It's a lot of Yahoo email addresses in there.
there are a lot of Yahoo email addresses in there. You see line 4, Francisco? There's
Oh
a,
yeah, Francisco with the and whipped cream somewhere in the email there. So
I like that one a lot.
yeah. Yeah, we got a laugh out of that when we were doing the research.
Again, disclaimer, I don't know if this is real. I can't tell you if it's
Yeah.
real. It could be, it might be, maybe it is. How did they get this? I don't quite know. We could interact with them, we could undiscover, we could do more investigative and analysis, but this sort of stuff is out there. So, holy cow, it's minute 45 just about, Dave. What are we doing?
Yeah, we're got a lot more slides. We got a cruise. We're having a good time though.
All right, yeah, let me speed run for a little bit if that's okay. So, Breach Forums again, showing you some more of the forum posts and types where they're selling access via RDP, domain admin. You can see that DA acronym, the industry that they list for the business that was compromised, the breach data, the revenue of the business where they're headquartered, and then what they're selling it for. Maybe the access type of VPN or private VPN. And it's a little truncated at the very bottom. You could see their Talks ID or a lot of their instant messaging account information. Now, let me chat a little bit about Breach Forums because we've had some of those screenshots up and about. Breach Forums is one of the most notorious, infamous cybercrime forums amongst, I think, it probably even higher, more so than exploit.in, XSS.is, and others that we've kind of discussed. But Breach Forums has had a tumultuous history. And I might get this wrong, truth be told. So, hey, please school me. Help me stay honest in the comments here. Originally, a long, long while back, Breach Forums was owned and operated by some actor who called himself Pom Pom Purin, with a reference to that, with, of course, his sort of profile or account or little mascot there, and that in handcuffs for that image. And I believe he was arrested. That was caught. Um, Others that kind of took over, I think Baphomet and others. So BreachForums had gone up and down with V2, with V3, etc. It was spent a lot of time in Telegram just as well, etc., etc. For the moment, it seemed it was up. And again, it had another DDoS protection or a quick little queue to be able to let you into the forum. And while we were doing a little bit of research and kind of dig into this just the other day, truth be told, when we logged into Breach Forums and we at least got to explore, there was a big announcement notification with an unprecedented $500,000 in XMR or Monero bounty announcement to help us identify Yukari, which I don't quite know what that is, truth be told. You could see Shiny Hunters, the admin, had posted that just previously. And again, we wouldn't need to scroll through the forums because it's the same as all the others. But while Shiny Hunters had now brought Breach Forums back to life, I think just previously, I think in July, they revived it for about a month or so. And this announcement is weird. Hello, Breach Forums users. We have an unprecedented announcement. A substantial bounty is on the table for a target that only a few are aware of, but demands immediate attention. They're looking for Yukari. Every single lead, every conversation, any piece of evidence will be helpful. And they have a dedicated Telegram channel for this, or they have that link there. Now, this is the admin of Breach Forums, Shiny Hunters, that's been owning and kind of driving this thing forward. But if we took a look in that Telegram channel named The Ship, which was kind of odd, you can see the date here, August 11th. Today, yesterday, whatever date
Yesterday.
that might be now. Yeah, goodness. If you have any information about Yukari, this individual, contact me. Their tag Umbreon SH, SH being a reference to Shiny Hunters, Umbreon being that Pokemon profile picture there. And this was just weird, right, Dave?
Yeah, yeah, we were last night, yesterday afternoon, we were like, man, 500 grand, man. He must have really aggravated some. They must really want this Yukari.
You piss someone off
Yeah,
some
big
way,
time.
somehow,
Yeah.
right? But I got to be honest, we're kind of scratching our head. And through the night, this is some previous history. Breach Forums, another admin that had shared how this was bringing this back to life after the previous incident and scramble that had taken the forums down, amongst what would have been XSS's struggle and previous the arrests of Intel Broker and USDOD, other notorious names in the cybercrime ecosystem, and even previous posts you might be able to see at the very bottom with Pom Pom Porin Baphomet 2023 timeline. Anyway, sorry, all that context because it seemed like Breach Forums was back in action. Seemed like there were Stealer logs out and about. Seemed like folks were chatting in the shout box, like the real-time communication on the website. But folks are probably maybe tracking. Overnight, a couple hours ago, like breaking news, Shiny Hunter had shared a message in their Telegram chat and had pasted a message on Pastebin with their PGP sign message, they're the cryptographically secure, to say, hey, I've got some bad news for the threat actor cybercrime community here. I regret to inform everyone a serious incident affecting Breach Forums come to my attention that the official PGP key, along with the forums itself, have been compromised. Platform is currently being operated by French law enforcement agencies, including BL2C, coordination with DOJ and FBI. And these admin accounts for Shiny Hunters are compromised. So Breach Forums popped again.
Yeah,
What do you
it seems
think?
like it. And now do we think Yukari is like somebody that law enforcement's looking for, maybe? Like, it's another angle.
Yeah, we were wondering about that because
Yeah.
I wonder if that post from Shiny Hunters was posted by federal agents
Yeah, it could
and
be.
just, I don't know, as bait, as a honeypot, as the lure, or if that was pre-compromise and maybe Shiny Hunter said that as if, okay, Yuhari is the individual at fault or responsible for this kind of unraveling the way that it has. Um, but I don't even know what to say, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally broke overnight, and some of this stuff came in like this morning. We were jamming in a slide deck.
So for our fellow attendees and friends here tuning in, what's your hot take? What do you think? Uh, Good thing, right? Okay, cybercrime crackdown, right? Again, the law enforcement takedown stuff that is helpful and good. Um, but that has, without a doubt, created quite a stir in the community. Before taking a look at things now, the Breach Forum site had a notification without letting any pages be viewed or accessible. It says these forums are currently closed. Uh, if you were to try to access the Onion link now or even the ClearNet domain, it'll tell you it's dead, it's down. 502 timeout. Tor's not going to get you there, et cetera, et cetera. So this is legit breaking news. We'll see it across Twitter, X, the internet airways, what people are going to be screaming and shouting about now. But obviously, this is just more cybercrime high school drama.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
And we've seen this time and time again, so many times before. Uh, but there's your breaking news, everybody. All right, Dave, 10 minutes left. Do you think we can crank out some ransomware conversations in 5 minutes?
We'll squeeze in some, yeah, 5 minutes of ransomware.
Do you want to help drive here? I'm sorry. I feel like I've been talking for too
No,
long on the
it's
breach
all
forum
good,
stuff.
right? Like, I mean, this is just kind of a list of all the, I guess some popular ransomware groups that I've, been, seen alongside working here in the last, 5, 6 years. Revo was a big one, and then today we're talking a bit about Play or Play Crypt. Sometimes I believe I see it called. That's kind of been active for a few years. But yeah, they mostly, gain access by credentials they bought on the dark web. Maybe some of the sites that we've shown here today, probably some different ones for sure. We've definitely seen some links to them utilizing Simple Help, the Simple Help, remote access RMM type tool to maintain persistence there. And for those who are in the MSP space that are hanging out, they did leverage the Screen Connect slash and grab in 2024 as ways to exploit and run it down. And I don't have it on the slide, but I did have it in the notes that at some point, like 2023, they kind of used their own custom info stealer called Grixba. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And that was just designed to enumerate environments to see what you had in there, what antivirus you were running, what backup software you were running. Yeah, just grabbing all those details so they could come up with the best plan of attack and know how to combat themselves or combat against what tools you had. Even some of the productivity tools, they were looking to see if you had like Microsoft Office installed. And yeah, this is the advisory on Play Ransomware, kind of most recently as of June 4th, so early last, well, I guess it's 2 months ago now. Boy, they're all blurring together. But they were just showing off some of the new TTPs that they're using. And there's a whole list of new IOCs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information in that post about how to do it. But this is their name and shame site. And this is kind of the really short evolution of ransomware I've seen. When I first saw ransomware, the first thing that it did is it made everybody get much better at BCDR, your business continuity, your backups, your stuff like that. And then once, that avenue got closed, attackers realized extort is the way to go, right? Like, sure, you've got a great backup of your data. But this is Play's name and shame site, showing how many days before publication. I believe we even have a slide here. The next one showing off some folks that maybe they didn't pay and their stuff got published. So they've got 65 pages. I think some of the numbers out there said they had about 900 victims. I think we did the quick math and it was, 800 or so on just this site. Maybe they had some other stuff here. But yeah, here's an example. Here's an example of what may be, an MSP or something similar. This was back in 2022. They had 190 gigs of data, but it's an information technology and services industry employing 500 to 1,000 people. So pretty wild drop there for folks in the industry. There's the awesome RAR password for the what's in there. But yeah, kind of an interesting environment.
We Dave and I are goofballs, so we were laughing about the very front page of the Play
Oh yeah,
Ransomware has never provided and does not provide the
the RAS.
RAS. obviously ransomware as a service, but the phrasing of the RAS just makes us laugh.
Yeah, we enjoyed that a little bit too much, I think, but
That's
it
going
needs
to
to
be
be
a
on
new
a t-shirt
t-shirt,
or
right? Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. It did direct us to the FAQ though, and if you haven't seen ransomware gang actors frequently asked questions page, that's quite a trip. You can see
Yeah,
what happened. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You know, we've talked about this, I think, in some previous shows of sort of all of the customer service aspects and the technical support and stuff of getting decryptors and whatnot. And now we've got, you know, knowledge base articles here. Like, here's some frequently asked questions about our service. Although I can't say service because they don't do the RAS, but
I see everyone popping off in chat. So glad everyone is
yeah,
about the
I'm glad
RAS.
that I'm glad that everyone found that as fun as we did. I feel way less bad about it now.
Can I get a file tree of the stolen information? No, this information is
Right.
not
We
disclosed.
I like that. We stole all your stuff, but we won't tell you or show you what it is at all. They made it look like, was it in here or was it the previous one where they like meticulously went through all your data? And we know that that's not like a thing. They're just snatching it all, right? It would be too cumbersome to read through all of it.
Well, I think there is one interesting tidbit that's worth bringing up because obviously, because they have the stolen data, files, and information, they know what your revenue is. They know what your
Mhm.
numbers and financials are, and they know what your cyber insurance policy is. So they can very, I don't know, they can very devilishly set the price tag for their ransom to be out of reach. Um, and that's why this stuff is
Yeah,
even
it's
more scary than
dynamic
it seems.
pricing, right? Like dynamic pricing from ransomware operators.
Uh, Something for the back of your mind. Well, you can tell we're nearing the end, my friends, because we've got the fun, half finished, empty bullet point for our resources and references. But if folks were really interested in this stuff, I know we were in sort of like a safari ride, driving all over the map to kind of tell you what the cybercrime ecosystem and that weird dark web stuff looks like. Um, some GitHub resources. I'm a really big fan of Fastfire and their Deep Dark CTI repo. That'll include some of the onion links if you were willing to brave the elements and go see what's out there. Ransomware.live showcases and tracks a lot of ransomware actors, just like Play, just like Conti, Lockbit, 8base, Akira, etc. And you'll even get to see some of the leaked ransomware negotiations, like real chats between the victim trying to handle the payment opportunity and business transaction between the ransomware operators themselves. Those are mind blowing to read through because you see what do people say or talk about and what does this threat actor and ransomware gang act like in that scenario. If you haven't seen it before, definitely take an eye, check them out. Um, Other online resources, dailydarkweb.net, Dark Web Informer, and there is one last Easter egg that I might share with you, if that's okay.
Is the one more thing, huh?
This is the one more thing. I don't know. We were memeing on Twitter about some sham wow commercial that it looked like I was doing a black hat. But hey, uh, we got a couple DMs and messages back in April, I'll admit. And you can see some of the Russian or Cyrillic text here that I think has some translated segment here and there that mentions Huntress, mentions us. Um, and the message beyond that block quote or pre-formatted text says, "Hey, we're seeing some threat actors kind of chatting about you guys." Um, this is a third party that kind of brought this to us, and he says, "Look, these are ransomware actors. They're trying to get a trial started to see how it'll do against, see how Hunter, see how the product would do against whatever their tooling might be." So wild, weird, multiple threat actor ransomware groups, lockers, maybe Conti, a little bit of mix in of 3 a.m. BlackSuit, maybe some Medusa and Ransom Hub in there. And this is a weird feeling, right? like, is it an honor to be tested against to know, okay, we're up there with the big boys? I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, you know, are we on the radar now, right? Like I guess it's I guess it's good too to be popular enough to make this list in kind of a weird way. Um, um Yeah,
But that's an Easter egg for you. I
there
thought
you
you might
go.
enjoy. Hey, we are doing our darndest to move and shake and hit these huge wins. For folks that were hanging out with us at Black Hat, DEF CON, etc., huge announcements. Jen Easterly, I know we mentioned SZA just previously, but she had just
Yep.
joined our strategic advisory board. That's kind of incredible. She's the former director of SZA, that cybersecurity infrastructure and security agency.
Yeah, we're
Um,
we're super excited to have her.
extremely excited. New big partnerships with Microsoft. You might have seen some of the press releases out and about. So we are having a good time fighting up against these hackers. We're wrecking the hackers the best that we can. And with that, we hope you get to join in on the fun and celebrate with us when we're at any of these in-person events. If you want to catch us coming up soon, other Huntress road shows, we actually got something over in the UK, which is super cool.
Yeah.
August 19th over in Leeds, August 21 in Nottingham, and then other live events at Exchange, Nerdio Training Camp, IT Nation Connect ANZ, and more and more and more. You can check it all out at hunters.com/events. So if we haven't filled the cup here with Tradecraft Tuesday, keep hanging out with us. You'll see us next time. Speaking of Tradecraft Tuesday, though, what we're doing next month. Tradecraft Tuesday does come at you every single month, the second Tuesday of the month. But next, we got to learn a little bit more of the scams, craftiest trends in tradecraft coming out. So please, 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 as you are tuning out of this, once we close up shop here, you will get a little survey. And if there's anything specific that you want to hear, anything more that you're interested in, other conversations that we should have together, please, please, please do let us know. Give us that feedback. That's the only way we know to get better and bring you the value
Yep.
that you would like in your.
Yeah, definitely tell us what you'd like to see, and come see us on that next one. It's going to be a fun one.
Cool. We're at the absolute top of the hour, Dave, and I'm so sorry I didn't give us a whole lot of runway for questions, but is it okay? Do you think you and I might hang out if there are any for like 5 minutes, for 10? Does
I'm
anyone want
good.
to banter with us for a little bit? This is when we let our hair down and the show gets more fun than it
I
already
mean,
was.
hair down's kind of relative here, but I'll take it.
Cool. I'm going to try to figure out Zoom and see if we got any chat or questions. Did you see any that flew by?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, we got 4 Q&A up here.
Some on Sonic Wall.
Yeah, I see that one. With this new Sonic Wall SSL VPN compromise and previous FortiGate SSL VPN, is IPsec VPN any better? What's the most secure way to provide staff remote access without opening up yourself to a big risk? And then apparently Ingram Micro's recently breached was a VPN. I might be bold as to say I've debated on saying it publicly or not, but I kind of think SSL VPN may be dead. We've just seen a lot of vulnerabilities surrounding it over time, and IPsec is the newer technology and stuff like that. But the thing to take away from it is it all comes down to hardening your setup, making sure everything is good to go. I know in the SonicWall case, some of it may have been attributed to overprivileged LDAP accounts, like the account that was doing the interface for pulling the LDAP, if it was like domain admin. It doesn't need to be. In Windows, you can read, users and groups with much less privilege than domain admin, stuff like that. So at the I see deprecated dead in chat. So good. It's not too much of a hot take. But yeah, it's dead. We don't use it. We were transitioning off of it some places I was, 6 years ago, before I was at Huntress 6 years ago. So definitely think we should move over to, to newer tech, but just, definitely do all the hardening, try to get all your MFA, try to use security keys if you can, limit down to, known and registered devices. And I think that's about the best take I can give on that one. I think this next one's probably more your realm, huh?
If I may, yeah, there was a
Yeah,
question
go
that
for
came
it.
through. Do you guys have any opinion on the OSCP certification or Offensive Security Certified Professional? Is it useful in what you learn, and is it a certification that employers value? So I'll admit, yeah, I know this is kind of more on the training end and the conversations that we might have. Hey, how you might bolster your own, resume or aptitude here. Yes, without a doubt, I'm a big fan of the OSCP. I have my own OSCP that does point you in a lot more of the learning and training opportunities for penetration testing. Hence the name, offensive security. Traditionally, I think it did a lot on Linux. Now, I think has grown and evolved to be more focused inside of an Active Directory environment. But without a doubt, it has just become one of those well-known industry names, and it is something that is a foot in the door for when you're, hey, trying to break into a hiring process or get a job at a potential employer. So I gotta be honest, yeah, I'd recommend if you're up for it, if it's something that you're interested in. That's the biggest thing, is if it's fun for you and you have that passion in offensive security, without a doubt, try it, see if you can make it happen. And best to you. Congrats if you get it. So, uh-oh, more questions coming in.
Getting some more.
That was a mistake, staying longer, huh? Wasn't it?
No, it's all good. How critical is internal LAN telemetry these days? All the big boys tout it, but it seems like ITDR, cloud account security, is so much more critical. Layers, right? Is that
Defensive
the answer
depth.
here? I mean, it's internal LAN telemetry is going to be great for things like lateral movement and whatnot. I mean, that's going to be one of the key indicators there. I'm on the ITDR side, so I'm biased. I wouldn't say definitely buy ITDR stuff, but no, it's all good. It's the Swiss cheese problem. It's the layers. It's all valuable. Just stack them in the order that's most important to your organization. Some places that it may not be that valuable, like Huntress is a 100% remote environment, so internal LAN telemetry wouldn't be terribly valuable here. So consider your environments and whatnot. How legitimate are dark web monitoring services from MSP security providers? Some of that stuff can be hit or miss. It just depends on what the source of their information is. Some people are homegrowing stuff, some people are reselling stuff. The more you can learn about where they're getting the information from and how often it's updated, like I'm definitely not an expert on what each individual product out there that it does, but if it's something like, are they just regurgitating an existing API that you could utilize, or are they homegrowing or curating or updating some content for you in more of a managed play? Those are the kind of questions to ask and figure out, like, is this something you could just buy, like, have I been pwned API access and roll your own, or would you be better off doing, or are they curating a little bit more of the data and doing updates and stuff for you? So
You took the words right out of my mouth. That was exactly what I was going to say.
yeah,
Try
okay,
to dig into it. Try to ask, look, what is the collection source? Is it
right,
just have I been pwned, or are they pulling from the Telegram channels, the cybercrime forums, the ransomware
right.
leak sites? Though these, what we've given you, I hope, are those tools. I know it's an overwhelming amount, but you want to look for the folks that are sucking that all in so that they can parse through it, manage, and give you what's actionable and what's
Yeah.
practical for you and your team.
Yeah. And for clarity, nothing wrong with Have I Been Pwned. Great resource. A lot of great stuff there. But I don't know that I would just pay somebody else for that. I would just get it from them, right? Like it's that sort of thing. This might be good for you here. The CTIA one. You want to grab that one?
Yeah. Question. Hey, if I were to bring value to my org, how should I train in the cyber threat intelligence world to track stolen credentials and info stealer threats? Super good question. And it's a whole wide world. There are a lot of other really cool resources that are out there. LeakIX, I think, is one that will help. Obviously, folks have begun to commoditize, for better or for worse, right? How, depending on how you perceive this, but the Steeler logs themselves, that could very well just be a known commodity now. So tracking those down and finding those would be beneficial. And again, even if it is something as simple as Have I Been Pwned or those other resources that will try to keep an eye out for you or your identity, your team member's identity, their email address, their usernames, et cetera, et cetera. Those are things you could try to key off of. But that's a matter of being on the hunt.
Uh, this one could almost be its own show. What's the best or safest way to search your own org's data on the dark web or the deep web? It's DW here. You know, what that's a really deep topic, pun intended, of general protections and making sure you're using isolated machine, isolated environments. Some of the reality is going to be that all the good stuff you probably have to get vetted and pay for, I suppose. Like you got to work your way into some of these forums and maybe spend their initiation fees or come up with their their initial crypto thing or something like that. Any thoughts on that, John?
Sort of, kind of. If it's okay, I'd probably just pull this a little bit further, because I think it's no secret your information is going to get out there. My information is out there. My passwords, my old usernames, my credentials have already been leaked
Oh
on the
yeah,
dark web
mine
because
too.
of past breaches, because of past, companies that were compromised, that, my records were there. Um, I don't have as much of a concern with that, because we've been doing the basics right. And it's the silly, stupid stuff that everyone tells you. It's us screaming from shouting from the rooftops. Use a password manager, turn on multi-factor authentication, have a physical hardware token. So if my password, the word microphone, whatever, just happens to be leaked out onto the internet, uh-oh, well, I didn't really care, because I don't use that same synchronized password for any other website. And that
Yep.
single website, even if I didn't know or didn't realize, the password was leaked, multi-factor authentication got in the way. So they wouldn't be able to log in, the physical hardware token that's necessary. And then if I could track it down, if I got the heads up and knew, that password has been stolen, I can go change that password, because the password generator, password manager makes that extremely easy. But I am a firm believer in those stupid, small, simple, basic cybersecurity hygiene things. I don't know any of my passwords. You could hold me at gunpoint and I
Right.
couldn't tell you any of my passwords. I don't know.
I'm pretty much in the same boat. It's and you probably get this too, probably more so with the kind of the work that you do. But being the cybersecurity guy or whatever in my friends group or my family group or whatever, it's like, oh man, what's the just like craziest, coolest thing that happens, the sexiest attack or whatever, and it's like. Somebody clicked a link in an email and their password wasn't MFA or what, like it's a reused password like 100 times and they got credential stuff. And it's unfortunate that it is still the boring stuff that is the most popular. But the good part of that is it's the most easiest thing to defend against. It's kind of like a F everybody else kind of thing, but like you don't have to be faster than everyone. You just have to be faster than the person behind you when you're getting chased by the bear. Kind of the same scenario here. Don't be the lowest hanging fruit. Do those basics that John's talking about. I think you'll be in a much better place.
Perfect. We have cleared the question queue,
Cleared the
my
board.
friend. And I think that is a great way to end off on, if that's okay. What do you think?
That sounds great. I had fun hanging out with everybody today. Haven't been here in a while, so it's a solid. It was a solid good time back. So hope to see people in the future. And man, this was a great time. Hope
It
everybody had a
flew
good.
by, not gonna lie. We had fun.
Yeah, no. We always worry that we're not going to fill an hour, and now we're at an hour and 10, and we're heading out. So
Excellent. Happy Tradecraft Tuesday, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next
thanks
time.
everyone. Bye.